All
Eh,
right. Oh, yeah,
how's
they've been.
everyone doing?
Yeah. We're just going through the agenda today. I have the agenda up on the screen, and I just basically walk through that agenda where we're just going to follow that. Again, let me welcome everybody. Thank you for your attendance. I think this attendance for me means a lot. I think that's one way we all stay together and we work as a team. I know that there's things out there that happen, and sometimes you run into issues and you have that opportunity to talk to your colleague, especially with the sharing of material, book supplies, some of the things that you have out there that need immediate attention. So I'm glad that you guys do all of that. And the other piece is that, you know, the position that you guys have, it's really important for students. At times that these students, they crave for that information from you. And I know that the parents, as well as the community, they look at your position as a go-to position where, they're receiving the updates, latest information, in terms of their students' movement. So I'm very happy with that, and I think we as all of us work together, it makes things a whole lot easier. So again, welcome. Um, we have a few new people also. I think the last meeting that we had, there were a few that were introduced and who they are with the supervisor as well as the Title VI folks. And I think there are a couple positions out there. Jordan School District is looking for one, and as well as Tooele School District. They're looking for a Title VI mentor or a coordinator of that sort. So I think I sent all the information out, and that's where we communicate with each other. There might be somebody in mind that you have living in that area, and you just give them a nod that this might be something that you like. So we'll start with that. I asked Eileen to do our culture reverence this morning, and I'll give the time to her. And Eileen, are you on?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Hopefully, the principal doesn't go on and do announcements as I'm doing it, so I'll hurry. Now, Sash Maya de Hilsha at the Shiwishoga de Cordiat El, Quaki Hasidlin, Hachine, the Cord the Banda with Ah, but I don't let Ahiki, Bendale Nishaba, the Quaking the with Ah. O Huyugo, Nahada and Ligo, the Quakil Taon Nahaka, do Bamado Besheta art and that deep cut nature. When Lord of Shadian Ashwad, Yad Eldi could on Nasconane Kaho, Jonako, Yade on Jonan Sede Kesko, Hujongo, the Quaki, the Hachin about the Willia by Hetanitsen, a wood Abansis Kesko, Dishne, art and the coordinate Annie, Dr. Foster, the art and Dustin. Jansen, Director of Indian Affairs, the Ohuayugo coordinators, the teachers, counselors, and Hachnia, the Hulia, the Betwin Lodo, the Nasco Bait Esho, Nasco Ikaha, Hujongon Hachadon, Niki, what Abba, Nanoshkako, the Shne, what citizen, the he need Ohuayugo Ben Hahulia, Tohalo, Kohalo, Ohuayugan Hinago Nahadet. Die ba heta nid sy'n about the gwiliado, di wyd abansys kes. Now, di chyn jonon hieto, all, wysion hasle, wysion hasle, wysion hasle, wysion hasle, wysion hasle.
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh,
Hey, let's go on to the next. I see that Dusty's on. Um, yeah, Dave, been Dusty.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah. So we'll give the time to you, and you can take the program from here.
Awesome. I do appreciate that cultural reverence, that prayer, Eileen. Thank you for sharing that. Because sometimes I really need it. I always really need it. Um, but can everyone see my screen
Yes.
right now? Okay. I'm gonna review a couple of things just because of uh some things that have come up at work, and when I talk about tribal sovereignty, sometimes I get some pushback on it about how tribal sovereignty isn't a true sovereignty. And the more I look into this subject, the I just don't believe that statement. I think tribes are sovereign just like any other government out there. I think what people get caught up on is the absolute power of somebody. And that's not necessarily what sovereignty is. I show this bundle of sticks here, and this bundle represents like sovereign authority, and each of those sticks has a different power. It represents a different authority that a sovereign may have. And depending on your relationship with another sovereign, you may not use all your sovereignty sticks in your bundle. You like for between us and Canada, the US probably doesn't use a war stick in their bundle, right? They remove that stick. And so that it's not important in that relationship between the US and Canada. So, tribes may not be exercising full authority or using all their sticks within their sovereignty, but there isn't really a sovereign nation out there that does. There's always some compromise, and there's always some agreement, dependent on those relationships that we have. So absolute power is not necessary for sovereignty and to exist. In fact, the U.S. Constitution limits the sovereignty of the U.S. not only by recognizing the co-supremacy of international treaties, but by delegating some powers to the states. I think we see that in the U.S. Constitution under the 10th Amendment, where the Constitution recognized that the citizens themselves hold residual powers, right? All powers not granted to the state and federal governments are reserved for the people. So absolute independence it's not really necessary. And especially if you look at, the United States, we're not absolutely independent from anyone. We have energy dependence on some, we have trade dependence. For a lot of industry, we have manufacturing dependence, technological resource and dependence. We bring in oil from other places. And we don't really have economic independence either as the United States. We owe we owe people money as a nation. We're in debt as a U.S. nation. So, to say that absolute independence is necessary, absolute sovereignty exists, I mean, that maybe in a vacuum, but not in everyday practical working experience. For me, the defining aspect of sovereignty, it's really not independence. It's not that absolute power, but it's the defining aspects of sovereignty are the relationships that we have with other sovereigns and how we function in those relationships. Let me push my space bar. Or maybe I don't push my space bar, push this one. So just when I look at this and I say, what is sovereignty? I I I make this little diagram here, and sovereignty is not absolute power. It's not absolute independence. It's just a nation's ability to make laws and be ruled by them, and it's a nation's ability to form relationships with other sovereigns. We ask ourselves, where does tribal sovereignty come from then? Well, it's always been there. It's always been there. I'm not going to go over this because we've talked about that a lot, but I thought that'd be a good thing to talk about before I got into to share what I was planning on doing today, and especially with today's news and governments and things, I think it's a good idea to really understand, a little bit about our Constitution. and there's not a lot of people um, too eager to follow it. It seems like if you watch the news, and so um, I just want to take a look at that today. And there's a large body, of evidence that supports the thesis that American democracy um, had influences from the indigenous governments that they saw when Spain, when France, when England, when they landed on these shores. They didn't just see a group of people. They saw nations. They saw political leaders. So much so, that they saw that they controlled certain territory. That, again, so much so that England, Spain, and France, they started making treaties with the tribes. And this was an acknowledgement of them being not just a group of um, people that share cultural and religious and ethical or ethnic lineage, but they're actually a group of people that practice government. And they were people that we needed to make treaties with. We needed to have that government to government relationship with. And a large part of that, what that led to was an acknowledgement of how tribes were running, how tribes were operating. And I think we'll see a lot more of that when we get through this this PowerPoint. Um, but you'll see the influence that tribal governments had on the formation of the United States. You know, there was a guy named Vine Deloria, and he was Lakota, and he put a lot of effort into understanding federal Indian law and policy. And he asked a question. He was like, where else were ideas of distributing national sovereignty between nation and state articulated and practiced when the constitutional fathers were debating the organic documents of state? They certainly could not have looked to Europe for guidance, and there was no nation on earth at the time except the Six Nations that had grappled with this problem. And the Six Nations that he's talking about were part of the Iroquois Confederacy. You know, oh gosh, I don't know how to move that thing. Let me see if I can move that. Move that down a little bit. No, let me see if I can. It says we're at, and in 1988, Congress, they actually looked back and said, we know where the framework for our Constitution came from, and they recognized that as that coming from the Iroquois Confederacy, and so in 1988 they made a House resolution to acknowledge that, and it says, whereas the original framers of the Constitution, including most notably George Washington and Benjamin Franklin, are known to have greatly admired the concepts of the Six Nations of the Iroquois Confederacy. Whereas the confederation of the original 13 colonies into one republic was influenced by the political system developed by the Iroquois Confederacy, as were many of the democratic principles which were incorporated into the Constitution itself. And so let's talk a little about who these guys were. This Iroquois Confederacy. They called themselves the Haudenosaunee, or the people of the Longhouse. And if you look at their houses, I think you can tell why they called themselves the people of the Longhouses, because they had long houses. And if you look on this painting, you can see smoke coming out of some of the tops of those holes of those longhouses. And if you ever have the chance to see it, sometimes they'll have smoke dance contests at powwows or smoke dance exhibitions, and they would have contests between the men and women, and they would dance around this fire really fast, and that would cause the smoke to rise into there and out of the longhouse. And they said that was the real development of that smoke dance, and they made a dance for it and it had a practical purpose too. But I'm sure all of you have seen this symbol, the Iroquois Confederacy. This is their flag, and it's a big purple flag, and it has these designs on it. And if you look at them, There's one in the middle, and the two right next to the middle one are a little larger than the outside ones, the outside squares. Um, they called their confederacy and their way of governing the great law of peace. This symbol in the middle here represent the Mohawk people. They had 9 seats on this confederacy, and I'm sorry, this is the Mohawk right here. They had 9 seats in that confederacy, and the Seneca on this side had had 8 seats in the confederacy. The two smaller squares were called younger brothers, and that was the Cayuga and the Oneida. The Onondaga were these guys in the middle, and they had 14 seats. And what would happen is that they formed a defensive alliance together to take care of each other. You know, they when other tribes or other nations came in and attacked any one of these 5 nations, all 5 would respond in defense. But it wasn't just defensive. Every 6 months, this group would get together and they would bring all their issues and concerns with one another, and they would assign it to these younger brothers to come up with solutions. And if they came up with solutions, they pass it on to these older brothers. And if these older brothers liked that solution, they passed it on to the moderator or the chief, the Onondaga people, to 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 acknowledge it and accept it. But if the younger brothers, if they came up with a decision that the older brothers didn't like, they could send it back to the younger brothers to have them work on a little bit and address the concerns they have. So if you look at this, it's really uh, it resembles what we have in Congress today, right? In Congress, we have the House of Representatives, which could be these lower squares. We have a Senate, which could be these bigger squares, and we have the president, who represents this moderator, this symbol here. And in the U.S., our laws or our legislation starts in one house, moves to the next house before it goes to the president. So it's really really similar to that. And people saw this. People saw that the strength in this, where you could have 5 different um, tribes, 5 different governments, all working together under one larger um, organization or government. So that's pretty cool. Um, I and it's this idea resolves. It wasn't about violence. It wasn't about um, muscling people around. It was really about talking things out and working things out. So this started out with 5 nations: the Mohawk, Seneca, Oneida, Cayuga, and the Onondaga. But later they brought in a sixth nation, Tuscarora, but they're not represented in this. I think they fall into one of these smaller squares. If you look at some things, especially like Navajo peacemaking, it's this process that Navajo Nation has to resolve concerns outside of the court system. And the reason why that's a, a novel and good idea is because regular court system, Western government, Western court systems, they're adversarial. You have 2 parties and each one has to make an argument, right? And in the end, the best argument wins, right? It's very adversarial. It's us against them. Whereas in peacemaking, it's about talking and working it out, talking things out. We even have a legislative subcommittee in the Navajo Nation called the Nabakia Committee, which pretty much means talking it out. And it's a part of Native culture, and it's a part of resolution of things. And it's about resolution rather than punishment. Now, sometimes our Western style courts, someone has to be wrong. There has to be a winner, and someone has to be the loser, and someone has to be punished. And a lot of Native governments and dispute resolution, that doesn't need to be that way. There can be a way where everyone can have their say and figure out what the best thing to do is for everyone, because we're communities and we have to live together and work together a lot. see. I know you've seen this before, but and especially in my opening remarks when I talked about where governments get their authority, the federal government and the state governments, they get their authority from the Constitution. But tribal governments, their sovereignty, their tribal authority, that came that came from themselves. That was always existed. It was their tribal government and their tribal sovereignty existed prior to the formation of the US Constitution, right? They were already acting as governments with Spain, France, and England before the United States revolted against England and won, right? So their authority doesn't come from the same place. Okay. And if if some of you are new to Title VI and just new to Indian policy, I think it's good to see this slide every once in a while because it shows that there are um, three types of sovereigns in the U.S., right? We have the federal government, we have state governments, and we have tribal governments. The U.S. federal government is sometimes called the supreme sovereign of the United States, and its powers are defined and limited by the U.S. Constitution and represents the largest focus of political, economic, and legal power, and has some, but not absolute, power over sovereigns within the U.S. The state governments are a little different. They get much of their sovereign power from the U.S. federal government. The Constitution, it grants states residual powers. It says those powers that are not explicitly given to the federal government, um, they're reserved for the states and the people, right? It says the power is not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. So even our federal government can't absolutely govern in the U.S. It has limitations because of the existence of state governments, and it has limitations because of U.S. citizens themselves. Tribes have sovereignty that is obviously older, like I said, than the U.S. Constitution, and they had their own form of government. And though a lot may be unwritten, they had legal codes. They had social rules. Who could marry who was related to who, what authority could men or women exercise, what authority could different people within their tribe exercise, right? And they retain these later through written documents, but through their stories, through practice, and through memory, right? Tribal tribal sovereignty, it comes from the people, it comes from the land, and it comes from the relationships that they have. Tribal sovereignty, it's not a gift from an external government, right? uh, Tribal sovereignty, those tribal governmental powers, they're not granted to tribes by the US government. There are powers that tribes always have, and though there might be restrictions on the exercise of some of those powers, the powers that they do exercise, they're not granted to them. They've always had them, right? And tribal sovereignty is not defined by the U.S. Constitution. Anyone at all familiar with the history of U.S. Indian policy knows that many limitations, I guess, as well as possibilities for tribal sovereignty, have been defined just over time when we do stuff. Um, Again, this we come back to the Iroquois Confederacy because I think I want you to understand the influence and the relationship it had with the formation of the United States. The Iroquois Confederacy, they called their law or their creator the Great Peacemaker, right? His actual name meant where two rivers come together, and his name seemed to destine him to bring people together, and the great peacemaker brought peace to the five nations. I was looking up a guy, and his name is Orrin Lyons, and in an interview he had with Bill Moyers, and Lyons is the faith keeper of the Turtle Clan of the Seneca Nations, and a member of both the Onondaga and Seneca Nations of the Iroquois Confederacy. And at that time, the nations of the Iroquois had been enmeshed in continuous intertribal conflicts, and The cost of war was high, and their societies got weak. And so the great peacemaker a chief named Hiawatha, chief of the Onondaga tribe, they contemplated how best to bring peace between the nations, and they traveled to each of the five nations to share their ideas for this peace. A council meeting was called, as we'd expect, and Hiawatha presented the Great Law of Peace. It united these five nations into a League of Nations, or the Iroquois Confederacy, and became the basis of the Iroquois Confederacy Constitution. Each nation, right, it maintained its own leadership, but they all agreed that common causes would be cited in the Ground Council of Chiefs. And this concept was based on peace and consensus rather than fighting, right? There's a way to do this without fighting. I was listening to a comedian named Nate Bargatze and Bill Burr. I was listening to him, and they were making comments on the state of the world and Israel, Gaza, and Ukraine, Russia, and they were like, "Isn't it crazy that we're in 2025 and we see war as an option, right? War is still the option to win rather than a more civilized approach of talking things out." And that was the whole basis of this great law of peace. You didn't need to fight and kill people to get the result you needed. You could meet together, you could present evidence, and you could talk with one another and come to an agreement that you both can live with. And working on the Navajo Nation, Little Colorado River and Navajo Hopi water settlement, that didn't pass, back in 2012. But I remember when I was working with Navajo Nation, there were a lot of activists that were contesting that 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 water settlement, and one of them came up and was like saying to us, don't settle for anything less than 100%. But that's not a settlement. If you got 100%, you got everything you wanted. That means you won. know, Settlement really means that you get together and you find out the things that you agree on, put those into practice, and you agree to continue working on the things you don't agree with, and until you can come to a consensus. But there's never this idea that, oh, we better go fight each other now because we don't agree on everything. You settlement means you can agree on some things and continue working on other things that you don't agree on. So let's look how this great law of peace influenced our US Constitution. Let me move this again out of the way. Okay. So I've tried to put them both side by side so you could take a look at this. And the Iroquois Confederacy and the Great Law of Peace on one side and the US Constitution on the other side. But let's look at some laws that influenced our US Constitution that were taken from the Iroquois Confederacy. They had laws that restricted members from holding more than one office in the Confederacy. And compare that to the US Constitution, known as the ineligibility clause or the emoluments clause. It bars serving members of Congress from holding offices established by the federal government, while also barring members of the executive branch or judicial branch from serving in the House or the Senate. You couldn't serve in all three branches of government. You could pick one. And because we need to keep some things separate. So there's no biased influence moving over because one person is serving in multiple areas. Let's look at another one. The Great Law of Peace outlines a process to remove leaders with the Confederacy. And we brought that into our Constitution. The President, Vice President, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for and the conviction of treason, bribery, and other high crimes and misdemeanors. So these are the issues you can bring up if you want to impeach somebody: treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. Uh, and I think I want to explain a little bit on this too, because there seems to be some confusion between impeachment and conviction. Okay. Impeachment That just means you're bringing official charges against somebody. So when you impeach the president, all you're saying is, Mr. President, we're bringing the charges of X, Y, and Z against you. That's impeachment. His actual removal from office doesn't come until the Senate holds a hearing and finds him guilty. Okay. So the House of Representatives can charge the president um, and impeach him, but the Senate has to hold a hearing and they have to make a decision whether the president is guilty or not guilty. Okay. So we've never, as the United States, removed a president from office. We've impeached like three of them, but none of them were ever convicted and found guilty after a hearing within the Senate. Okay. So, but this idea of removing your highest political officers within a branch, that's not something that people really thought about prior to this, because a lot of the colonizing nations throughout Europe, they had monarchies, they had kings, and there wasn't really a way to remove that king other than storming the castle and chopping off their head or something. But through the Great Law of Peace, they instituted a way where leaders could be removed peacefully. And we've adopted that and put that in our US Constitution. That's become part of our impeachment powers. When we looked at that Great Law of Peace, their flag had the two small squares, two larger squares, and the big tree or arrowhead in the middle. Um, what we saw between the big brothers and little brothers were actually two houses in the legislature, right? Just like us in the U.S. Constitution and the U.S. government, they borrowed this idea. It's called the bicameral Congress, right? A bicameral House. In the Constitution, we call one side the House of Representatives and the other side the Senate. But both the House of Representatives and the Senate, they make up Congress as the whole. This idea of having a lower house and an upper house, that was brought in directly from the Great Law of Peace. You can see that here, Article 1, Section 1, the vesting clauses of the U.S. Constitution. Another influence, it talks about who has the power to declare war, right? You can't just have anybody saying, we're going to war. You can't do that. You have to designate someone to do it. And we've adopted that in our Constitution, or the War Powers Clause, right? A president cannot declare war on another nation. They can move troops there and hold them there for a little bit, but for long-term stays and for an actual declaration of war, only Congress can do that, right? Congress has the power to declare war, grant letters of marque and reprisal, and make rules concerning captures on land and water. It's important that we designate who has the authority to do it, so no one's just running around trying to make war on everyone. But again, uh, a concept borrowed from the Great Law of Peace. The Great Law of Peace restricts members from holding more than one office in the Confederacy. I think I shared that one. I don't know why I have that twice, but I did. My bad. I think I was just moving things around and got a little confused for a second there. But in 1744, the Onondaga leader Canasatego, he gave a speech and he urged the 13 colonies that they should follow their example and unite, because they were fighting amongst themselves. And he pressured them to say, look, we're doing it. We have 5, 6 different nations here, and we've come together and we can stand together to help each other do good things, not only for defense of our nations, but in resolving conflicts with other nations and amongst ourselves. And that they need to follow that too. Um, uh, there's Benjamin Franklin. He wrote down part of what Canasatego said, and this is what he quoted him saying. and this is the Onondaga leader. He said, "We heartily recommend union and a good agreement between you, our brethren. Never disagree, but preserve a strict friendship for one another, and thereby you, as well as we, will become the stronger. Our wise forefathers established union and amity between the 5 nations. This has made us formidable. This has given us great weight and authority with our neighboring nations, and we are a powerful confederacy because of it. And by your observing the same methods our wise forefathers have taken, you will acquire fresh strength and power. Therefore, whatever befalls you, never fall out with one another." And he uses a metaphor, using arrows, and he put one arrow up, and he could just easily break it. But when he started adding arrows to it, and especially if you add 13 arrows to it, representing the 13 colonies, that's almost impossible to break in a bundle. And that's what he told, these 13 colonies of the US. This is something you need to really consider, because you can be stronger if you're together. All right, there it is. My bad. I should have just went to this one. Um, but Benjamin Franklin also said this, and he, of course, being Benjamin Franklin, also says some bad things and makes reference to natives in a bad way. But but this is what he says. He said it would be a strange thing if 6 nations of ignorant savages should be capable of forming such a union and be able to execute it in such a manner that it has subsisted for ages and appears indissoluble, and yet that a like union should be impractical for 10 or a dozen English colonies to whom it is more necessary and must be more advantageous, and who cannot suppose to want an equal understanding of their interest. Right? What he was saying is the tribes have done it. The tribes do this. The tribes are powerful because of this. Why shouldn't we do it? Why can't it work for us? We can make this happen. But I think you have to remember too that a lot of the colonies that were set up, they came all with different purposes, and they were different groups of people that landed on those eastern shores. And so bringing them together was hard. They had some common interests, but some of them were corporate entities, some of them were religious entities, and some of them were a mixture of both. And even if there was more than one religious colony out there, it didn't mean that they believed the same way. So, it was hard to get these 13 colonies on the same page, but I but Benjamin Franklin and George Washington noticed was that when tribes do it, it's very hard to defeat them. And if they could do it with 13 colonies, they'd be very difficult to stop also. Uh, Nabakiete. It means talking it out, but it's also, if you look at Navajo Nation government has 3 branches of government. You have the executive office, the legislative office, and the judicial offices. The legislative branch has some subcommittees. They have resources and development, budget and finance, health, education, human services, and law and order. And in 2012, when they reestablished their current form of government, they added another committee called the Nabakiete Committee. And that's, we have 24 delegates. And so you put 6 delegates on each of these subcommittees that I shared with you. But in this Nabakiete committee, it's made up of all 24 delegates. It's a committee of the whole. Because, depending on the type of legislation you're passing, sometimes it only needs to go through resources development, or only needs to go through budget and finance, or maybe 2 or 3 of the other committees. But Navajo Nations thought that there's some things that are so important that every delegate should have a say and give some opinions about it, because it contributes to a united group talking things out in a peaceful way to resolve the situation. I share this picture here. This is from Lord of the Rings. This is tree beard, and his people. There were trees, but they were called Ents. And if you've ever gone to a Navajo Nation Council meeting, you know they can run pretty late. When I used to work there, sometimes they would go out to like midnight, discussing things. And some people were like, "Man, why are you taking so long to talk about it?" And I always remember what Treebeard here said to the hobbits. He said, "If it's worth talking about, it's worth taking a long time to talk about it." So that's sometimes how it feels in you go to tribal council meetings. They seem to be talking forever, but they wouldn't be doing it if they didn't think it was important, if they didn't think it was necessary to help them move forward. I share this with everything I do, because I think there's a lot of truth in it. Wilma Mankiller was the first female president of the Cherokee Nation, and after her service, she wrote and she spoke, and one of the things that she said there's a direct link between public perception and public policies, meaning how we see things really determines how we treat those things. How we see people determines how we treat people. If we see people as really nice and happy, we treat them like nice and happy people. But if we look at people and say, "Oh man, they're gang members or they're thugs," then we treat them like gang members or thugs. So, we the in Iroquois society, leaders were encouraged to remember 7 generations in the past and consider 7 generations in the future when making decisions that affect the people. And if you see your people as important, you're going to treat them as important. If you see value in the students that you all help, you're going to treat them as valuable people within our system. If you speak well about education, if you speak well about staying busy and working hard, then the people that you talk to and that you interact with, they're going to see those same things for you. So, I encourage you to see your students as a great investment into our future. When people talk about the slave trade or the slave system that we had in the US with the African Americans, we talk about people, there was people that died there. There's people that never made it. But a closer look would tell you that when the African American was in slavery, when they were suffering through the civil rights eras, they were being held back, you know. And when people died, you weren't just killing a man, you weren't just killing a woman, you weren't just killing a kid. You were killing a future leader. You were killing a future doctor, a future teacher, a, a future holy person that can lead their people. So, you see the potential in those students that you work with and treat them, like they're special and that they can make it because that's true. And they're going to feed off you and they're going to feed off your actions and you're going to feed off your words. I'm very grateful to be in Nebo School District and having this Title VI program here and hearing Eileen and her staff speak so positively and so sincerely to the students that they care for. These students feel like they can accomplish anything, and I hope that's something that we can all carry out in all of our work. Um, I I'll stop there, Chuck. But if and I'll be happy to answer any questions or hear any comments anyone has at this time.
Okay. I think there was a comment by Lillian. If you could expound on that comment you made in the chat. Is she still here? I don't know. I'm just going to give you just um, a bigger
Okay.
picture of observation. I think this uh, that belt that you displayed, one nation is being attacked and you're attacking all the nations. And I think if you take that concept and you go to the United Nations, basically they're using the same concept as what the American Indian did. So the United Nations, you attack one United Nation, you're attacking the whole organization. So I
Yes.
think that concept has been carried on, and and the other was where the courts in these tribes. I think they picked a lot of the what happened in the past with the Six Nations, and they're using that as their foundation. Um, the another example is that like the three branches of government, you have that three branches of offices on the reservation also. So I think there's a lot of contributions that happen here. So I think that um, we should be proud of that. We should be recognized for that. But oftentimes that we're never been complimented for stuff for contributions that we had, the impact that we had with the Constitution. So
Yeah.
that's kind of my comment.
I was reading Lillian's comment about women's roles in the Confederacy, right? Especially up north and through Canada, women played a huge role in government, and that role was changed when European people came to interact with tribal leaders. They weren't used to speaking with women, and they weren't used to seeing women play such a huge role in government. And those European leaders start talking more to the men, and so much so that there are hardly any tribal governments up north where women still hold a traditional role in leadership, because that dynamic was changed, because European leaders wanted to speak with another man rather than a woman. And so, to this day, it can cause some tension and some heartache, in tribal governments. But yeah, we should acknowledge that women um, played a huge role in government, not just passing on clans, not just passing on lineage, but it was they had a say in government and a say in that leadership. I think Eileen has her hand up.
Yes, I wanted to add some information. I love this. I grew up in a clan system that had some very powerful women that I looked up to, my grandmothers, my aunties, and it showed the old way of how indigenous tribal nations looked at women. In our old ways, women held as much power as men. Our under our influence were a lot of the food, how food, the control over the food supply, making the food garden, foraging, all of that. The things were out in the community a lot of times and have a way of communicating with our peers out in the community that's quite different than men. Come a lot of times from the heart, from the nurturing side of the universe. And this is shown very, very clearly in Native societies. In the Iroquois Confederacy, women held political and economic power in the Confederacy because of their matrilineal line, the clan system. They could actually remove and select chiefs because it was something that they had control over. They were the ones who bore the children, raised the children, recognized who had leadership skills, nurtured that skill, knowing that in the future that they would become leaders. They could actually veto war. They could actually they held ownership of land. This was during a time that American white women had absolutely no power. Our Iroquois Confederacy showed the Pilgrims and the settlers during that time a whole different way of looking at that. Now they chose not to follow up on giving that power to women and everything, and I think that's part of why all of our governments, including tribal nations, today have that imbalance. We fail to recognize the contributions of both genders and being able to come into balance with that. So that was what I wanted to share.
I agree with that totally. Thank you.
Hey, is there anyone else comment or what you've heard?
Eddie, hand up.
Yes, I just wanted to add to what Elaine was saying. I'm married to a Northern Paiute, and one of the things that I always tell her is the house is yours. That's the way I've been raised. And back in the days, the teaching of our people, if the man was not doing his job as a father, as a spiritual leader, or teaching his kids the correct way of life, all the wife had to do was put the saddle outside to tell the father that he's not doing his job. And so the father, the man had to decide whether that was very important to him or not. Until he gets his act together, he's not welcome into the home. And so I think I carry that on, even though my wife is not Navajo. I just tell her, this is your place, this is yours. If something ever happens, the only thing that I would take is the stuff that I have, my personal belonging, that's it. Thank you.
Very good. Anyone else have a comment or something you'd like to say? Reaction?
Dr. Foster, I heard that fry bread will cure political ills. If we just take that fry bread and shove it into the mouths of our leaders, maybe they'll stop talking and think. I don't know. That's my theory. I got it from Meredith.
I would like to say something. First of all, I'd like to thank Eileen for that beautiful prayer. Thank you for the prayer, Eileen. And then also, I think, there's a lot going on right now. And sometimes it's easy to get lost in the turbulence of all of the political storm that's happening around us. Okay, and I think that's so important to go back to our way of life. And then all of our different tribes, they have their own way of life that centers them, that brings balance, that brings peace. And sometimes I think we need to revisit those places, those experiences, those ceremonies, those songs to recenter, so that we can have the ability to not only navigate through everything that's happening around us, but also to ask the Creator to protect our people and our communities and our children, and that we can continue to thrive and continue to be resilient. That's the thing I used to always think of. We always have to use that word resilience over the years, but all of our tribal nations have experienced many hardships, unspeakable hardships throughout history and throughout all of the trials that we have overcome. But I just think sometimes, you know, we were resilient then, and we have to be resilient now. But we also have to advocate for things that are important to our tribal nations, and we have to share our voices. And it's kind of scary right now when voices are being silenced. But we still have to voice our voices for our children. Hala, they're going to be here in the future generation, and after after we leave, they're going to be the ones to carry on our traditions and carry on our prayers and our songs and our languages as much as they can. And so you think about our youth, and it's so important to remember, to find that place where that we can find hope and peace through our day for our youth. So I just would like to share that message, and thanks, Dustin, for sharing with us today. And yeah, I hope you guys all have a wonderful Friday and a wonderful weekend. But thanks for allowing me to share my thought.
Oh, yeah. Anyone else? Okay, if there's no one else, just Dutton, I'd like to thank you for this session with us. I think this really, for me, it really grounded me back to the form of government that we do have with the Navajo Nation, or either, the Indian tribes, because they do have their own form of governments either, too. Um, especially in the branch of, the education, health, and the service that they have that office there. I think without that, a lot of our education wouldn't be set in stone, because now there's foundations built onto that, onto the education arm in terms of financing and funding. And I think that's where basically some of the students will go off to school and using that foundation funding to pursue their dreams. Without having this the sovereignty piece on that, it would be, we wouldn't be where we're at today in terms of our progress on the reservation. Although that, you go on the reservation at times, and sometimes it seems like nothing moved, nothing changed. But if you really dig down deep and start to drill, you see that there's a little bit of changes. I look at more of the educational arm. I see more of the American Indian people going off and pursuing their dream in higher education. And I see that some are returning back to the reservations, and some are taking leadership in certain areas across the board. And I'm looking at more of, especially at the higher ed setting. I see that there are more of higher ed people who are American Indian. I think there needs to be more. And I think if we start to research other areas like healthcare, the justice system, you see basically the same thing happening. So I think that it's at times I think that, especially at these times, this sovereignty is important to us, very important. And for me, it's important into the educational arm. So it's something that I see from my experience being as a teacher and administrator, and now is serving serving at the Utah State Board of Education. That's, I see the whole plantation, if you will. So anyway, that's just my comment. Okay, go ahead, Eileen.
I was noticing that uh, Meredith made that comment. No, wait a minute, it was Anne. Does anyone know if the schools today teach about this? I know it wasn't taught it in high school or college. I learned it another way. And I think this is really kind of important for us. We, as Title VI coordinators and staff, need to share this. There's so much that is obstacles and barriers within public school system in, not very much. Well, I shouldn't say that. There has been a lot of change, but there's still a lot of gap in the way the system, the school system, the curriculum is used to teach about Native contributions to our society. We need to amplify. We are eons ahead of dominant society in many ways, in our ways that we look at, our concept of kinship, our concept of hojo. Um, and I say this from my own Navajo standpoint, but I know it's prevalent in all other nations as well. I've heard it only in their words. So when we are able to share information about how to interact with our community and how to make things run smoothly, um, we need to be very courageous. We need to be able to speak up. Sometimes it's just us, we're the only ones that are standing up for what we know is a good solution, a rational way out of this problem. So hold your meetings, be strong in talking about the Iroquois Confederacy, you know, uh, um, talk about the role of women, talk about why it's wrong to not teach Native contributions. We have the answers to this, and it's our obligation to be able to voice this so that we can find a pathway out for this nation, in fact. So I think what I want to say is I think we have to be the ones to lead that. I Every summer in July I do a professional development uh, workshop where I bring in leaders, usually tribal leaders, to talk about some of these things. And I do it so that our teachers in my school district can hear what tribal leaders are doing and their perspective and their way of thought so that they can see something outside of what they're used to and be able to learn from it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Anyone else would like to make a comment?
Just on that, there is a movement. I think the state offered a grant to some people at UVU to somehow figure out a way to include tribal government and government practice into the civics curriculum within the state. And so that might be a couple years, but I think that's a really good way of introducing uh, not only contributions but just awareness that there are tribal governments in the state. They do try. There are tribes that make laws and they live by them, and that's something that we should all be aware of. So, but that'll take a while. As I learn more about that, I'll try to share more with this group. But thanks,
Okay.
Chuck. I appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, Brenda, you have a comment?
I don't have a
Yes, I
comment.
do.
The
Oh,
other Brent. Hey, she kissed it, Ella.
yes.
Okay, never mind. When you say
Okay.
Brenda, you're getting everybody's attention.
I'm sorry to insert myself into your meeting, but we're presenting today after this. But we represent the Native American Curriculum Initiative that amplifies, and our mission is to amplify the Native voice. And in the spirit of reciprocity, we would love to record you, Dusty, especially this session. I felt like it was succinct It was short and it was done in such a way that any higher elementary, junior high, or high school student could learn from this. And we'd love to record you, Dusty, with your slides and make it available for all Title VI coordinators so that they can share it with their social studies and, well, any classroom teacher they feel like could benefit from sharing it with their students. I know that Constitution Day was September, what was it, Constitution Week was last week, and I just wish that we could have had it ready and just send it out to these teachers so that students could get another perspective. But I don't know if that's a possibility, Dustin, and we'd love to do that for Title VI.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about it later.
Okay, we'll do it.
Okay. Thank you,
That
Brenda.
was it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, Meredith, you have
Yes, hi, Dr. Foster. So yeah, I was just thinking about that, and I think that with especially the Title VI program, it's really important for us to realize that these students. And thank you, Dusty. That was like an incredible presentation. Really, really appreciated it. Um, I think it's important because um, I think as Native people, there are a lot of things that feel foreign to us. And I think that society doesn't necessarily see that perspective of why we can't accept certain values of Western society. It's a very foreign many of the concepts are very foreign to us. And um, growing up, I definitely saw that play out, in my education, as far as, living in a border town and then also living on the reservation and attending school. Very, very different. And so when I think about my students, I think, their experience is not my experience, but I know they grow up in Native homes where a lot of these values are people right now are desperately Native people are desperately trying to hold on to and reclaim, our preserve our languages. And it's really important because, we always talk about how the language is the culture. We lose the language, we lose our culture. And so I think it's important for us as Title VI, directors to or coordinators to just be mindful that you're an advocate. You're an advocate, and
Mhm.
I think that was a really good point that Dusty pointed out in that presentation about settlement. I look at settlement, the Western view of that. That's been kind of a focus. I mean, so you one person wins and the other person loses, but in our culture it really isn't about who wins or loses. It's about what is good for the whole, what benefits the whole. And so I think as coordinators we have to remember that, the people we work with in these administrations, they don't necessarily understand, um, they don't have that perspective. They weren't raised the way we were, and it is different. It's very different, and what we practice may seem foreign to them. um, I would say the closest thing for people here in Utah, a lot of them are LDS, but even that is still different. It's not the same. um, and so I think as advocates, that's what we do, is we are advocates, and it's not necessarily going to be a settlement of one person winning. When we're trying to advocate for our families and our students, we just have to remember to keep in mind what's for the betterment of the whole.
Mhm.
you know um, that is our job, is to be able to really work in two worlds, where we can see the needs of our families and our students, but also it's not my job to make people, understand where our people are coming from. I can educate, I can do professional development as much as possible, but the idea of making somebody change or forcing them to see your perspective, it's not going to happen. But I think that these moments are really good and important because, yeah, for Native people, it's a very foreign concept. And I think even capitalism in itself, in our communities, we preserve, we protect for the betterment of the entire community. Capitalism is every man for himself. It is a foreign concept. It's about utilizing the resources and taking for own personal gain. It's very foreign to us, and I think that that's hard to understand. And so when you're functioning in that kind of realm, it's important to have those advocates and people who can that the people know they can rely on. And so um, I really appreciate that about my job is I think it's important that wherever we are, and I try to emphasize this wherever I go, is if I'm entering a community that's not my own, I'm not going to go in there and start telling people how to do or how to function or this is what you need. It's more of a let me see and let me hear, and then let's figure out a settlement. Let's figure out a happy middle ground for this. What's the betterment of the whole. But I think it does make a difference. I know some people are like, well, you're not going to change anyone's mind, but I think honestly, it really isn't about changing people's minds. I think it's really just about learning about each other and learning why these programs are so important and why they're needed. But yeah, that's just my thought for today.
Thank you, Meredith. Brenda, down in San Juan. You have your hand up?
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I had all of these thoughts coming to my mind as I was listening to everyone talking about their various viewpoints. And one of the things that is really kind of like taking a lot of central to everybody's thinking in my area right now is for the first time in southeastern Utah, we had a tornado that actually touched down and destroyed houses and homes on the Navajo reservation. And so all the the Navajo practitioners are getting together and doing their offerings to the earth and to the sky and the holy people because of all of this tension and all of this turbulence that's happening around us. It has caused the imbalance in our earth, and so they are really worried about this tornado. And I know, like, sometimes we don't really connect all of these things, right, to the work that we do and the work that we do with our youth and how we approach different things. And I think it's so important right now to find that balance within ourselves and to offer our prayers to Mother Earth and Father Sky to bring back balance into our area. And some of the things that the medicine man had said was that if we don't do our offerings and we don't sing our songs and we don't conduct our prayers at this time, there's going to be more. It's kind of like a foreshadowing of more distension, more imbalance that's coming our way. And I think that's important for all of us to kind of caution, because the main Hatkatli of the Hatkatli Association for Navajo Nation put out a statement on Facebook and of this message. And I don't know if you want me to read it to you, but I thought it was interesting. But I can share it in the chat, and you can read it on your own. But I just also wanted to mention that that other people are noticing that we need to pay more attention to what's happening around us. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah, I had conversation with a few people down on the res, and I had one conversation with Clayton also. Giving the traditional perspective, what the practitioners are saying, and what's happening with the land, especially coming so close, or either on the four corners and within the four sacred mountains. Very, very unusual, So I agree with you, Brenda. So it's something that we should, as people, Navajo people, and especially the reservation, those traditional thoughts and those traditional living, they see this a little bit different from uh, the other people that see nature in another way. So I agree with that. Anybody else? Any
I got
thoughts?
something, Dr.
Okay.
Foster,
Oh, you bet.
and I am making a rare camera appearance.
I can't hear him.
You got to unmute yourself, Matthew.
We can't hear you, Matt. But we like your shirt. No. It's the Every
No,
Child
Soraya.
Matters shirt. I'll have to translate for him.
No, we still can't hear you. Look, so it seems like your mic went out.
Okay. How about now?
Yes.
We can.
Yes. Okay. Yes, everyone can hear me now, Dr. Foster?
We can all hear you.
Okay, great. I had to switch off of several different mics before that would work. So I just want to let everybody know, we took Title VI funds this year last year, and we purchased in my department orange shirts for all of our department to wear on Orange Shirt Day, which if anybody, I know we have several non-native people in the meeting today, which is Tuesday of this coming week, September 30th. And Orange Shirt Day, in addition to being kind of National Kindness Day, is also the day set aside where we remember the Native children that were taken from their homes and put into the boarding schools, some willingly, many against their will. And so we have these. Now, this year, since we had purchased from last year, we also purchased orange shirts for our neighboring department, our responsive services department, and they have committed, along with my department, to wearing their orange shirts, not only on Orange Shirt Day, Tuesday of next week, but also on every Friday in Native American Heritage Month. And we're going to keep doing that with, SPED will be next, and various other departments. And we can increase visibility through that way. But it's just a great opportunity. It wasn't too much money out of the grant to be able to do that. And slowly but surely, we're increasing visibility. And it would be wonderful to see a lot of Native ways of knowing maybe applied to a lot of the mania that we're seeing in the world today. And I think that starts with visibility. So just FYI, if you have grant funds, you might consider providing those to your history teachers, or providing them to your neighboring departments, or whatnot. It's not only a way of increasing Native visibility, but it's also a way of opening doors to Native ways of knowing.
Do you have a local printer, or did you get them off somewhere else?
Nope, we bought them online. Bought them right
Amazon?
off.
Awesome. Okay.
I've got the one with the big feather that says "Every Child Matters."
Okay. Very good, Matthew. Thank you. That's an idea for everybody. Anybody else would make a comment? Okay. Well, let's move on. We have presenters today, Brenda and Emily from the Native American Curriculum Initiative, the BYU Arts and Partnership. So if both of them are on, you guys could go ahead and unmute yourself, and you guys have the floor. Hey, appreciate. Wow, it looks like you're out there in the wilderness, there, Brenda.
Yes, I am. I
Yeah.
am.
Is
I
is is Emily with you?
I'm here as
No.
well.
Okay, all right.
Guess where I'm at?
Where is that? On the res?
Window Rock.
Yes, Window Rock.
Oh wow. Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. I see. Oh yeah. Yes. Yes.
So,
None, honey.
so Emily,
Yes.
can you please put up our screen? Okay. So as she's doing that, ja at she a Brenda Bialan she a she hensliki ani bashin tochane e da she che toche gline da she masana e would asan. Just introduce myself in the traditional way. I am filled, my bucket is full today because I have spent 3 days in Blanding at the Weaving Our Stories conference put on by the Utah State University team. They did a fabulous job, and just I feel like our future is intact if our children continue to learn. And so I just wanted to share that. Emily, do you have our screen up? Emily? Okay, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah,
we
we
can
can
hear
hear
you.
you.
Okay, but does Emily have our PowerPoint up yet?
No.
Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead. I'll have Emily introduce herself when she gets on. Some of you know about us, but we are the Native American Curriculum Initiative. We were formed in 2018, and we became an initiative because there were teachers who came to us who had questions and needed some understanding. And so we started working with the 8 sovereign nations in Utah and creating resources with them. And we went to each of these nations and we asked them, what would you like the children of Utah to know about your culture, your ways? And then when they told us, we co-created with them arts integrated lesson plans that every teacher in the state of Utah could be confident and feel comfortable in teaching, and because there was a seal of approval. Every one of our lessons that we have created with sovereign nations has the seal of approval of that particular nation. So the Northwestern Band of the Shoshone Nation shared with us some songs that they felt like they were willing to share with the children of Utah to sing um, and learn. And there's a seal of approval there. The Navajo Nation shared one song that they felt like every child could sing. And we got the seal of approval there. And so I'm just wondering, is Emily still there?
I had to restart to be like I hadn't ever used Microsoft Teams to share my screen, so I had to restart. So I'm here now.
Okay, do you have our screen
Yes.
up? Okay.
I don't have it up yet. It's just taking 1 minute. So keep talking, Brenda.
Okay. So we wrote, I think it's 6 lesson plans with the Navajo Nation, and we actually had to take these lesson plans all the way to the Department of Diné Education, the Navajo Nation School Board, through the judicial system, and all the way to the executive branch, where we had the chairman or president of the Navajo Nation sign that it was approved. And so let's go on. Emily, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes. So my name is Emily Soderborg. I know many of you. I am the project manager for our Native American Curriculum Initiative, and we work with the BYU Arts Partnership.
Can you tell us a little bit about the Arts Partnership? Go back to that slide before.
So the BYU Arts Partnership, our main goal is to work with teachers. We work with teachers in providing opportunities for every student to learn through the arts. And NACCE is connected with that in the fact that it is an Indigenous way of knowing, to learn using the arts, to learn with side-by-side coaching, to learn using all of our senses rather than just having everything compartmentalized. And so we also are, we work with the Beverly Taylor Sorensen Arts Learning Program, and we are funded in part through the Utah Division of Arts and Museums and the National Endowment for the Arts.
And so let's go to the next slide. We work with the 8 sovereign nations. We have visited with all 8 of them. We have created arts integrated lesson plans with 6 of them, no, 7 of them. One of them is an MOU review, but each of these seals, when they're put on our lesson plans, it means that the official voices of that particular nation has approved the lesson plans. And our lesson plans go through, we work with cultural specialists, we work with language specialists within the tribe, and we work with elders. And so we work with authentic voices, knowledge keepers, cultural representatives, and official voices. And just to piggyback off what Dustin said, we really work hard to recognize and acknowledge that we are working with sovereign nations. And so it was important for us to get an MOU signed with each one of these nations. We didn't go to them treating them as just an ethnic group, but a government entity. And so I was so excited to hear Dusty's talk, and I hope that we can start helping people recognize that we are government entities, sovereign nations that work with the state of Utah. Emily, do you want to add anything else to this?
So as we've gone to them, we've asked each sovereign nation, what would you like the children of Utah to know about your tribe? And you already all know this, but the very first thing that every single sovereign nation has said, and individuals have said, is that they would like students to know that they are still here. And so as we are talking today, that is one of the main focuses, is that we are amplifying that each of these sovereign nations is still here, that Native Americans are still here in all that they are doing. So Brenda was talking about what we have published. We have 42 total lesson plans published. And you can see that we have many already there. So 14 intertribal lessons don't have that seal of approval, but we have worked with knowledge keepers, with standard bearers. But we have 4 that are completed but have not yet been published with the Indian Tribe of the Uinta Reservation, because the MOU is in process. And then we have 1 in process with Skull Valley Band of Goshu.
So thank you, Emily. I want to take a look at, we have also, we started just writing lesson plans, but we ended up creating more resources. One of the resources is our newsletter that we would love for, if you would like to get a newsletter, and just different updates on what we're doing, you can sign up for it. Can you talk about Artful Teaching podcasts, Emily?
So with this, we've put out several podcasts with in our native series that answers questions that teachers may have had, that goes more in depth into the different ways of looking at how our resources have come to be, and perspectives. Brenda shares perspectives. We've talked with others in that as well. And then
go ahead.
We have also our professional development course, Amplify Native Voices in the Classroom, which has also now been created as an ebook. So teachers don't have to go through the course and do all of the homework. They can actually get the information from the ebook, and we're happy to share that ebook with any of you as well.
Go do the last two.
And so then we have many blogs that we've written. So I actually put in the chat earlier one of our blogs about Orange Shirt Day, which has links to 4 lesson plans that we've created surrounding Orange Shirt Day. And then we've also worked with the Utah Division of Arts and Museums in adding many more Native voices to their teaching artist roster, so that those artists can be brought into the classrooms, which again amplifies Native voices, lets students know that these Native Americans are here and present and doing things that are contributing to society right now.
So I want you to take a look at mine. Go ahead and go back up. I want you to take a look at this image that I'm showing you of Window Rock. And there is a concept that many people talk about, and it's that concept of windows and mirrors and sliding doors. And windows, mirrors are symbolic of how it is important that children are able to see themselves reflected in the curriculum. So think about having every child in a classroom looking into a mirror. It is our goal to make sure that all children, and especially Indigenous children, can see themselves reflected in the classroom. And that's why I said, Dusty, can we record you? Because I feel like our kids need to see themselves reflected in that Constitution class or that history class. And then think about windows. Windows are actually opportunities for people to look through a window and see other people's perspectives, other ways of living, and other ways of doing. Now, most of the time, we think about windows as for non-Native people looking through a window and seeing how others are doing things. And we want, our initiative works to help people see authentic and accurate information as they look through those windows. And going with Indigenous pedagogy, we feel like teaching the whole child, personal, holistic, means also helping their parents understand some of their own lived experiences. They may be their grandparents' lived experiences that can be extremely helpful in a classroom. We have a lot of urban natives who are just depend on Title VI to help their children learn more about their native culture. But we'd love to have those parents realize that they too can help to carry on authentic and accurate information for non-natives to see through their window. And so one of these is the Native American round dance. And I'm going to let Emily just start talking about the Native American round dance, how it came to be, and then how we teach it.
So as we went to sovereign nations, we asked them the question, what would you like students of Utah to know about you? And we shared one of the questions that teachers have asked us continually is, are there any dances that students can participate in that can be done in classrooms? And the round dance was the only dance that was shared that could be done. However, as we met with each of the sovereign nations, we actually went to the quarterly tribal leaders meeting. And so we had all of them in the room at the same time. And we asked this question, can we do the round dance in classrooms? And there were mixed responses. Some of the groups said, yes, immediately, it's a social dance. Others said, we need to think about this a little bit more. And after actually several months of them discussing and deciding, all of the different leaders, they came back and they said, yes, the Native American round dance can be done in classrooms, but we ask that a Native be present because we want the students in the classroom to know that that we are amplifying Native voices today, that we're still here. So if the teachers just teach the round dance, the students aren't recognizing that Natives are here and that they are sharing this as part of their culture. So that is where it started from.
So it has been important for us that there be a Native American present when teachers teach about the round dance. And we'd like you to just think about this next dilemma that we have come across, and let us talk about it at the end and see what kind of solutions we can come up with. The sovereign nations were very adamant that there be a Native American in the room. And they didn't necessarily have to teach the round dance, but that there be a Native American representative, so that, again, just like Emily said, people saw that this was approved by the sovereign nations and that we were still here. So this is how we teach the round dance. We have a lesson that we have written. We have learned that on Turtle Island, that the round dance is a unifying dance all across the continent, up through the First Nations and all the way up through to the Alaskan Natives. The next slide. We also have found that the drum is also a unifying dance. I mean, a unifying instrument or piece, and that during the round dance, it represents the heartbeat of Indigenous nations, and that when people dance, each tribal nation does the round dance a little differently, and that each of the tribal nations has their own songs for the round dance. Now, let's go to the next slide. We take the time to teach students in the lesson plan about the round dance and what it represents, what the drum represents, how to do the round dance, why it's done in a clockwise position, why it's important that you have that mindset of friendship and sociology, of social sociality. Yeah, I'm on the Navajo rest. I'm losing my English. Okay, let's go on.
I'm not sorry, I'm not gonna watch the videos right now. So that last one was just allowing students to watch an actual round dance at a powwow so that they got the authentic experience, at least of seeing how it would be done in an Indigenous setting. And then this dance, Round Dance 10, or this video, Round Dance 101, is explaining and answering questions about the round dance. He basically teaches the round dance in this video, so that is the dance itself is already being taught here. I'm not going on.
So we have the students participate in the round dance using different music that is used across the state to do the round dance. We have the traditional round dance that is done at powwows. Let's go to the next one.
Sorry. This one is a Shoshone song that is called a circle dance rather than a round dance, and we explained that it might have different names. It might be called a friendship dance or a circle dance. And looking at how it sounds different, and this one actually has a faster swinging beat in it as well. Oh,
okay, do
sorry.
this one also.
So this is Southern Paiute. This is Mark Rogers, and he is singing a place song that's also a round dance song, but it's a song, and we explain it's a song that says this is the land where he is from. This is a mountain sheep song, and it is specifically sharing it's a song that he belongs to. And so not everyone could sing this round dance song. We can dance to it, but only those that are of the mountain sheep people, his clan, can sing this song. This is a Ute round dance song sung by Lorenzo Root, and it's slower. It has a different way of moving, and students can hear and feel that each of these songs are unique in it, and it helps share that each sovereign nation has its own way of doing things, that they're not homogenous.
And then we have the Navajo songs, and it's sometimes the skip dance, or it's actually we do the round dance, a round dance song with a Navajo song. So we went through each of the tribes and asked which song, and these were the songs that they chose. Okay, go ahead. So go ahead.
What we would love to do, so as we have asked teachers to reach out to community members, the first line that we ask them to go to are the Title VI coordinators. And so I'm hoping that many of you have had teachers reach out to you. Sometimes they don't know who their Title VI coordinators are. They're not sure who to ask in their community. And as we have had some teachers reach out, they've had people come back and say, I don't teach the round dance. I don't know how to teach it. And the teachers themselves don't know how to teach it. So we would love to have an evening and a day where we go through, the round dance lesson plan with anyone who is willing to go into classrooms to share about the round dance, so that we can honor the Native request from each of the 8 sovereign nations that there always be an Indigenous person representing their community to talk about it as the round dance is being taught.
So before we ask them to talk with Title VI coordinators, we asked teachers to, first of all, look at their own school community. Do you have Indigenous students in your school, or who have parents that would be willing to teach? And a lot of them have come back to us and said, yes, we have Indigenous parents and we've reached out to them, but many of them are nervous about teaching the round dance. They've never taught the round dance. They don't feel comfortable, but they do feel comfortable in talking about how they grew up and maybe what they know about their Indigenous culture. And so our dilemma is that we want people to see through this window and see how important the round dance is, that it is a social dance, it is a friendship dance, everyone is invited, and that there are many things that you can learn from the round dance. But we also want people to realize that there are Native Americans here today. And that's why we want to hold a professional development. And we would love to have Title VI coordinators help, because we don't feel like we can keep asking Title VI coordinators to go into classrooms, because your primary responsibility are Indigenous children. But we're hoping that you can maybe help us spread the word to parents, so that we collectively, as Indigenous community in urban settings, can be willing to share and actually amplify the Native voice in classrooms. And so we would like to hold these October 13th, one in the evening and one in the day. And we are looking for a place to hold these workshops where we can invite Indigenous people from all walks of life who would be willing to volunteer, and not really volunteer, because we usually, if they bring somebody in, like an artist in, we ask them to give them something for some kind of compensation. And we're asking for your help. That is our dilemma. Can we talk about this? And do you have any comments or suggestions on how we can go about doing this? Can we, if you are, Emily, you can probably see, it says Jordan School District would love to host you guys if you were open to it. We would be absolutely open to it. We could do something um, up in Salt Lake Valley, and then down in Utah Valley, if someone, and it looks like Sarai said so maybe we would have them in different areas, northern Utah, Salt Lake, Utah Valley. And just because we feel like we would love to have this be a whole community teaching. We want, I'm sure this would help some parents who grew up in um, in an urban setting. Oh, wow. This is fantastic. Can we, I see that Salt Lake School District's interested, Canyons, Davis, and Jordan. Oh, yes, you would really be rocking your mocks, though, on October 13th by doing the round dance. And we were hoping this would be for parents, grandparents. It could be even Native students, so that they can go to their school and help within their school community. I know that Alan Groves' son, when we came to his school and did the round dance, he said, I'm willing to help anytime. And we said, well, are you worried about your studies? And he says, I feel I can he's a very smart boy, and but he loves sharing his culture, and we'd love to have more people doing that.
I'm seeing the mock walk is 5 to 6:30. We could even push ours back 7, and that's in Bluffdale. So if we did it in Jordan, then people could do both, and it might be an opportunity to get all of those that are doing the mock walk as well. Would that be an option?
Yeah, and I'm Amisha, by the way. I'm the coordinator for Jordan School District. Yes, and we can also look for a venue closer to Bluffdale. So it's closer for people to get there after the round dance PD.
Yes, we'd love to invite whole families to come.
Okay.
And in the daytime, it would probably be for more adults. and maybe even college students who would be willing to help out.
Yeah, that works. So now how big a like a middle school gym does that
Yeah.
work for you guys? Okay.
Yes, I think even a media room somewhere
Or
where there's a
Meredith
space.
just said we could just do the round dance at the mock walk. If we could arrange with American Indian Services that's putting that on, we would be more than happy to do that too.
We could change, if it would be easier for people, we could also change the date.
I think that it would be great to be at Wardle Park with everyone there and teach the round dance and explain, because we're wanting to do it in October because so many teachers reach out in November, and we want to make sure we have lots of people who feel confident and willing to go into classrooms before November, as you all know.
Okay, why don't we do this? I think our time is up. Why don't we have Emily, I think what we need to do is get the names of all of these people. If you could share your email with us, and I think actually Chuck already shared your emails with us. If we could send out an email and we could start planning the days that we could come to your district.
And we might add more days so that we do, like if we did one in Salt Lake Valley and one in Utah Valley and one up north like Davis and Weber, and then if we could even go down and do one in central southern Utah as well. Or you can go through it and teach and share too.
If you wanted to go through it and share it, that would be awesome too. And it's teacher friendly. It's it's an engaging lesson. I think that is our presentation. We have one more. If you have, we have written 4 lessons about Orange Shirt Day and how every child matters. It is on Tuesday, and we would love to be in schools to share our lessons or even to do presentations on boarding schools to junior and high school classrooms. If you know of a teacher or a classroom that would like to have us come, would you please email us, and we would love to be in the classroom because we will be wearing our orange shirts, and we would love to just have people understand more about boarding schools and residential schools. Fantastic, Meredith. A drummer at the mock walk. That's awesome. Chuck,
Yes.
that's it. That's
Okay.
we're done.
Hey, I have 6 committed right now, so I guess you guys will kind of work that out. I
Yeah.
think you do have the list of all the Title VI coordinators also.
Yes, we do.
Okay. But if there's any information, just send it out and I can send it out to everybody, on this with all the context that I have. That includes
Fantastic.
some of the local agencies as well as the Title VI folks. And Soraya, you have a comment?
Yeah, I was just going to say our district finally changed that 4th grade program with the help of the
Yes.
BTS and all that. And then I actually wrote a lesson plan for our teachers on the 8 tribal nations of Utah. And they did the performance last year and it was awesome. They had the kids sing Damandoya, and after they heard the Northwestern Baptist Shoshone lady sing it. I can't remember her name.
Yes.
But it
Helen
was
Timbimbo.
beautiful. Yeah.
Helen Timbimbo.
Yes, and it was awesome. So we're changing that in our district. So it's
Wow.
been great. And I always tell all my teachers to go to the BYU website. The Arts
Thank you.
Partnership.
Thank you.
It's such
And
good resources.
Yeah.
we try to be pretty methodical about what we put out there. So
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Okay.
I think that's it.
Hey, this is wonderful. Hey, thank you, Brenda.
You're
This opened
welcome.
up a whole door of communication with everybody. You know, I think this is a great opportunity for everybody to participate. And, you know, I'm kind of interested in that walk. You know, I don't run these days as far as hard as I used to. I do quite a bit of walking though, so I think this would be a good time for me to ground myself again with an
Yes,
organization.
yes. You can
So,
lead the round dance. Okay.
yeah, okay, I'll you know, I'll whatever. Okay. All right. Is there any other comments on this? And then if not, we'll move on to Clayton. Clayton, I think I saw Clayton come on, and Clayton is going to give us an update on the again, Brenda and Emily. Thank you for the presentation, and thank you for just looking at what you guys have researched, especially with the tribes. And I know that sometimes it's really difficult to work with those tribes because they're always changing. And for you to have a captive audience with a tribe, that's very, very significant in terms of your projects. So again, thank you for your presentation, Emily and Brenda. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Clayton, are you here? I do have, and here he is, and have him give an update on the novel language and government classes.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
go ahead.
Thank you very
Oh, yeah.
much. Also, all the presenters, thank you. You're right on target. I think all the activities that you're doing are just right for the community or the school setting and for the kids. And Navajo one has started, but the first thing I want to say is if you have a student still wanting to join, go ahead and have them email me. I'll send them a form, and we'll do this till the end of October. After that, it's going to be a little tough for them to catch up, but hopefully, if they can sign up before October, that'd be great. A lot of the things that you talked about for folks that want to learn about government, things that have to do with helping nations. I think I was able to bring in some of that concept into lesson plan, or if you can see that picture, the central idea of the language is we want to create a feeling, we want to create the concept of Hojong. So let's say this is lesson for number 4, lesson 4. And in it, in the East, we say, what is your clan? And if you don't know one right now, you would just say Kia Ani Nishla, which is one of the base clan, which is the East clan, which is your mother's clan. And then we go to the next question. But before we go to the next question, we just teach the students to say, this is this clan that I have. I am this, and I'm happy about that. And then we go to Chin, and they say Chin. The idea is that we create a feeling within a student that Hojong is a real thing, that if we say it in our language, it brings the heart, it brings the spirit, it brings the peace and love and joy and harmony into the children's lives. And so hopefully this language class will do that every time we meet together. So Hojong is brought in. So in a Hogan is where Hojong exists or starts. and then goes outside in our lives where we meet with people. That the West concept is cheshtan she, and a child could say if they know if they know who their che is, they can put in a and we want to really emphasize that they, when you say the nebazad, when you talk in the language, you are talking the heart language and the feeling language, and Hojong is that feeling language. The last question that we were asked, this is lesson number 4, so we just did this past Wednesday. And a child would say, so right along with the different questions, what we're doing, the reason why we do question and answers is because the first thing we do when we meet somebody, doesn't matter who, a relative, a stranger that speaks Navajo, you are connecting with a question, and usually one of those questions is about our plans. Letting the people know, and because we want them to feel good about who they are, right? So this is just a sample of what we do. So every time we go to another, the round circle will always be there. Hojong's concept will always be there. And we can always bring that culture, like a wedding basket talks about Hojong, the Hogan talks about Hojong. It's things that will bring about this concept of Hojong. All right, so the next thing I want to show is just one page or so. So a student in this class, I mean, we have close to 60 students. Because of that, not every student can come every time. And for that reason, I have a one page, I don't know if we can show that page, but that one pager, it has an ongoing way of students going back and listening to the recordings of a class that was just done. We just did one on September 24th, and it's lesson 4, which is the one I just showed you. And it'll give them a taste, a way to listen to the presentation. The heart of the Navajo lesson is that they answer a question, and that's how they pass off. So by the end of when we finish by April, every child will probably can do a question and answer on at least, I'm going to say 30 plus question and answer. And we talk about where, when, how. Those are all the question makers. I'm going to stop right here because I'm going to hurry myself. Is there anybody that has a question right now? I remember one question that was shared by, I think, up here by Grand County. When a child goes through this lesson plus the Navajo government lesson, they are entitled to apply for the Chief Manuelito Scholarship when they graduate. And their question was, can Chief Manuelito also be given out to other tribal members? And I said, well, as long as they have CIB from Navajo Nation, but you can't get one if you're not from another tribe. So this is just Navajo specific, is basically what I'm saying. You can't take the class. I mean, you don't need to get that scholarship, but you can just learn about Navajo language. Okay, any questions? If not, text me, email me. What's the questions? So one class will go through this out this year. We're going to do it 2 hours a week. 2 hours on Monday and 2 hours on Wednesday. My time doesn't allow me to add more time at this time. So if I'm going to do Navajo 2 and Navajo government, it's going to be till next fall before I can start those classes. Thanks for your question. And let's see if there's anything else that anybody else.
Hey, Clayton, this is just to just clarification. This class is offered twice a week. That's 4 hours a week, right?
Yes, yes, it is.
Okay. All right. Just to make it clear. Thank you.
We have more people? Is it good? Did you see it? I didn't read them all.
All right, thanks very much. If you have questions, please email me, text me. I can share with you this syllabus if anybody just wants to look at the syllabus. And from there, it has our ongoing, let's say you didn't get a link, you can go onto the syllabus and you can use that link right there. And we only have one link, one Zoom link that we use. And so you can come anytime. Somebody said, can we invite parents? I say yes, 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 because this is a community idea. This is giving it a voice not to the students only, but it gives to the voice of the parents, whether they be native or non-native. That doesn't matter, because we're learning how to read and the vowels and the consonants in English language, most of the sounds. So if you don't know how to read and write, come join the class. Every Monday starts at 3:30, goes to 5:30, and then also on Wednesday. Okay, here's the form that has to do with ongoing. So the next class will be on Monday. You'll have September, I don't remember what the date is, but we'll have the link right here. On this last link page, I'm going to do a quick 5-minute, 2-hour lesson, quick, and just tell the students, if you want the heart of what you're supposed to do, listen to this one, even though you can't take 2 hours to go through the whole listening idea. Just go to this video clip and it'll give you what you need to do. All right? Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Hey, thank you. Yeah, Clayton. That's good information in terms of the Navajo language class. Let's move on. The last part of this is the updates
Mario
from.
has his hand raised, Chuck.
What's that?
Mario
Okay,
raised his hand.
Mario.
Oh, Mario, go ahead. Go ahead, Mario. I didn't see your hand go up.
Yes, good morning, everybody. This opportunity for this Navajo language class and government, a lot of school counselors don't know about this program. And in some cases, it can actually help students graduate from high school. I have seen where the Navajo government class has been able to count for a social studies credit. That's usually at the discretion of the counselor. It's not written anywhere that says, yes, you can count this towards it, but I've seen that happen before in the past. Students who are short on credits for elective, taking this Navajo language class and earning 1 credit can be a big boost. That's a full year's worth of schooling there in a matter of weeks that Clayton covers. And so it can be very vital for some students and to the point where it could allow them to graduate from high school. It's just, I think, unfortunate that not a lot of school counselors know about this. It's really at the discretion of the Title VI coordinators to educate the school counselors about that. And so here, where I work at Granger High School, our counselors know and expect some of our students to take these classes to help them with their graduation credits. And so not only does it qualify you for the scholarship if you're Navajo, it allows you to earn credits and even, quite possibly help you graduate. So I would encourage all the coordinators to share this information with their school counselors.
That's great. That's good.
Hey, any other? Hey, thank you for your comments and thank you, Clayton, for your brief presentation, bringing us up to date on that language and government class. Let's move on to 6. I know I'm taking some of your time, and so I'm just going to go through this real quick. Updates, we're looking for that funding, STPB funding again. That's going from my office. It's going through the approval process, so that should be coming out. I was hoping it 2 weeks ago, but that the level of approval, it takes its time for some reason. So I just had word this morning that hopefully they're on the last process of that. So I'm still knocking on those doors to make sure that process is still alive, and we need that funding ASAP. I'm going to be doing also some site visits again, like I did last year. And I'll give you just a brief overview in terms of what I'd like to see. A lot of it is a compliance with the OIE office in terms of uh, evidence and the funding that you guys are receiving. And I plan to, there's 2 books that I plan to purchase for all of you folks, and that's in the mix right now. And then those people who are attending NIEA, I don't know if you guys are, and if you are going to attend, a couple of years ago, this NIEA was in Albuquerque, and we had an opportunity to meet one evening just as a group, and we just kind of talk as we had dinner together and stuff. I don't know if you guys would like to have that again. I surely would, but for those people who are attending NIEA, just uh, shoot me send me an email that you'd like to have something like this done. And if I don't hear from you, that means you guys are on your own or something. So um, that's the updates from my office. Now, are there any updates from your coordinators that you like to share?
Yes, I have an update. I have an update for San Juan School District, and I actually have another meeting, so I have to quickly say this and then go. I've included our San Juan School District Heritage Language flyer in the chat. So there is a registration link that goes with that, and I can also put that in the chat. But we would just like to welcome all of our Title VI coordinators. If they can come and attend, you're welcome to do so. There is no registration fees. The conference theme this year is Bridging the Future with CTE, which is Career Technology Education and Heritage Language. So NASCO in Nahaalt ka Bizad Bitbahazengo na Nishbahad Londo. So it's just saying in Navajo that in the future students will have career choices and knowing their language, and then part of the language is their heritage. And then our keynote speaker is Chance Lee Rush. He's a life coach, actor, motivational speaker. So he'll be our keynote speaker for the event. And the day before that, we're going to have our Native Youth Leadership Conference for 9th through 12th grade students at the same location, and Chance will be your keynote speaker for that as well. And then we also are going to do hands-on activities for our high school students that day. They're going to be making a hogan, and actually Brenda Bial is going to be doing that. So let me show you the hogans that they're going to make real quick. You guys probably already seen it, but this is what it looks like. So they're going to make a mini version of this at the conference, and then they're also going to stamp their own nickel silver bracelet. And it's going to be fun for our students, so we're excited for that. And hopefully you can come out, and if you need any information, you can just contact me. Kunsaw, thank you, and have a good weekend.
Hey, Brenda, are you leaving right now? I'd just like to say a few. I mean, I'd like to meet with you just 2 or 3 minutes after our meeting. That's okay, if you have time. You're mute.
You're
Brenda,
muted.
you're okay. Unmute. Okay. You have 2 or 3 minutes after.
Okay.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
I have another meeting after this, and then I can contact you this afternoon.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Any other updates?
Dr. Foster,
Yes.
I would like to invite those of you that are in the area. Tomorrow, we're going to have a harvest festival at Thanksgiving Point's Curiosity Farms. My students have been planting a garden up there with tribal seeds, and we're going to be there from 10 o'clock in the morning until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We'll have a native food tasting station. We'll have performances of Navajo sash belt, basket dance, and songs and demonstrations, cradle board demonstration, corn grinding demonstration, and all that. How to prepare and store tribal seeds, and a bunch more things. We'll also have some vendors there. So if you can come and visit us at Thanksgiving Point tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Hey, is there anybody else with an update? The Urban Indian Center, do you have anything to share with us?
Hey, Dr. Foster, I can share a few flyers.
Okay.
Okay. So tonight we do have our, tonight we have, can you see my flyer? The arrangement
Yes.
free filming?
Yeah, we can see that.
Yeah, so this film is it's a romantic comedy, but it's a Navajo film that is more based on culture and language. So if you're in the surrounding area, it's tonight from 6 to 8. And let me go down my list. Tomorrow we have a rummage sale. Let me find the flyer. Our elders are going to be hosting a rummage sale here on site in our hall. So if you're in town, it's from 9 to 3. But if you also have rummage, you can contact Fern Pondo. She's coordinating that event. On Sunday, let's see if I can find my flyer. Sunday, we're hosting an event here on site with KRCL. So that is from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. So tune in. You can listen in on a lot of our current programs, but also Rhonda Duvall and Dave John will be hosting the event. And that is Sunday. We do have an upcoming event, which is morely based on exercise. So this is Saturday, October 11th. It's our Indigenous Peoples Day 5K run walk. You do have to RSVP to get a free t-shirt. And so if you're looking to attend, please check our website, but also our Facebook site also has the QR code. And I'll send this to you, Dr. Foster. We are partnering with the Mock Walk, so sponsored. We're just a sponsor, but also we're just trying to ensure that we're partnering and supporting our events that are throughout the month. Let's see, we have, sorry, I have a couple more. We do have a sweetgrass workshop that is on site. It's October 16th. This is morely based on our rebalancing culture project. So Rhonda Duvall is, she's a contact person for this event, which is October 16th. Let's see. Again, sorry, my flyers are everywhere. And we have the Gatherings of Elders event, which is also October 18th. This is going to be from noon to 3. So invite elders, youth, community. Roger Williams is hosting this event, but it is at the Urban Indian Center. And my last announcement is our art market. So you kind of hear it first because I just seen this flyer this morning. In November, we'll have our art market, November 22nd and 23rd. So look forward to that. I think that's another fun event. Most of you see Rad or Ed there. So this is the art market that they'll be partnering with Rebalancing Culture. And that's it for me. I'll email you these flyers, Dr. Foster.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Penelope. Okay. Anybody else would like to give us an update on your site, or if you don't, that's fine too. Okay, if there's not,
Dr. Foster.
Oh yes.
Hi, this is Anne Marie Sherman.
Okay.
I just going to do a save the date for Alpine's Native American Heritage Month fundraiser. We sell fry bread, and we have drinks, vendors, and then we do a program for the community. So if anyone wants to or knows of somebody who would like to be a vendor, that'd be wonderful. And if you are willing to help make fry bread, we really need fry bread makers. And they can just contact me. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Anne Marie, don't forget our college scholarship night.
Oh, right. Yeah. So we are working, Nebo, Provo, and Alpine districts are joining forces together to have a scholarship night, Native American scholarship night. It's going to be at Mountain View High School at 6:30 to 8. And we have people from all the local colleges coming and someone from the Navajo Nation that's driving up to present as well.
And what date is this on?
It's going to be October 2nd.
Okay.
And I can send you that flyer.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, is there anyone else?
Dr. Foster, I just, this is so cool that Alpine, Nebo, and American, the third district, I forget which one, you guys are doing it together. Actually, Jordan is hosting a scholarship night and a career fair on November 6th. And we've already got it all figured out and planned. But next year, we would love to, collaborate with one of you guys and do it together because it is kind of more fun, more resources. But I would love to send you guys the flyer, and if you can, advertise,
Yes.
and have your students come, that would be great. We are having Native presenters from different careers come over and talk to the students about their career, their journey, their education, and the scholarship advantages that they have taken and whatnot. So it's going to be a fun night. It's on November 6th, and I'm happy to send you guys the flyer for that as well.
Okay. Very good.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is Jeremy from Grand Schools. We're excited because Jacob Crane is coming down to do a drum workshop, thanks to great planning from our leader Ricky Begay. So if you know of youth in Moab area or down in Blanding, they're welcome to join in on the drum workshop on October 17th. So we're super excited for that.
Okay. Is that in the evening or?
Is that in the evening or? 4 to 6 on I think it's Thursday. No, it's Friday the 17th. Of October. It says Thursday on here. It should say Friday. Friday's October 17th here in Moab at the Moab Arts Center.
Any other announcement updates? Okay, this concludes our session today with our Title VI meeting. I really appreciate you guys presenting or listening and taking in a lot of the information. This was some really good information from our speaker to our presenters to you guys sharing with each other, and I think we've crossed a nice bridge where communication now is beginning to open in terms of talking with each other. Our next meeting is October 24th. And again, it's going to be at 9 o'clock, and hopefully this round, I won't take away your time from your office. So other than that, I thank you guys for your time and your effort being here, and you might want to share all the information with each other, and any information that I receive, I'm going to email that out to everybody. So we'll stay close to each other and communicate with each other. And thank you guys, and we'll see you when we see you. Okay. Hey, thanks.